where would you say now would tell someone to, I guess, get experience in the footwear space, or how to like set yourself apart as someone trying to be a part of footwear?
Yeah,
Does that question make sense?
yeah. You know, the most important thing, if I were starting today from scratch, trying to get into the industry, it's not really a secret, but just exposure and experience in as many different roles or aspects of the company as possible. For me, I prefer kind of the small company feel. I like being able to talk to my boss or another division head or department head with very little kind of red tape. And I think that's a great way to really build your knowledge base of the industry is having opportunities or that are different in different aspects of the company. And I think it's really important to, as soon as you can, kind of figure out where your interests lie and pursue those interests. So, I think a lot of people could maybe be interested in design, but really, at some point they realize, man, sketching's cool, but I really just like being hands-on with the product. I want to build it. I want to play with materials. So, maybe you're not a designer, you need to be a developer.
Yeah.
Or, maybe you're just naturally drawn to, the merchandising piece and really diving into the numbers. So I think it's important to get as much experience in the different areas of the footwear business to really figure out where your interests lie. And if you can't do that if you happen to get a job at one of the bigger companies, I think it'd be really important or really valuable to find a mentor that can help you understand different aspects of the business, someone you could bounce ideas off of, you can ask a lot of questions, and really try to get your bearings in what your ultimate goal is for your career. One of the company values we have here at KNS is stay curious. And I really believe in that. I think that you have to be the one that dictates where your career is going and figuring out where the missing pieces are in your own experience. There's not like a cut and dry outline to say, oh, I need to hit these 3 checkpoints before I get to this next stage in my career. We're all responsible for driving our own career, and we need to be the ones that figure out, where do I need to learn? Where are the gaps in my experience, and pursuing ways to fill those gaps. And I think by really connecting with people in the industry, whether it's someone at your company or maybe someone that doesn't even work with you, someone that can just give you pointers, really give you direction and tell you the things you don't know that you don't know.
Yeah.
That's really the best way to kind of round yourself out. And I think as you interview for jobs and you kind of try to, sell yourself as an employee, having a better understanding of what you're good at and maybe what you're not so good at, I think really is a positive thing to tell to a potential employer. So I think just generally, if you're interviewing for a job, knowing what an interviewer likes about your resume and maybe knowing what they're seeing that's missing is important, so you can address those concerns. And I think that that's really helpful as a newer employee trying to get a foothold in the industry.
I love that. Where would you like? Where have you made the most connections yourself? Is that LinkedIn? Is it like trade shows? What's
Yeah, kind of all that. I have a lot of people I've met at trade shows that we didn't even work with. I didn't even end up working with them, but I stayed in contact with them. I've definitely reached out to people on LinkedIn, just kind of, it's almost a cold call to say, hey, it doesn't even need to be like I've got a 10-question survey I want to ask you. It can be just to be a quick touch base to say, hey, I like what you're doing, just so you've got some contacts in the industry. I've had conversations with people that, I never worked with, I probably won't ever work with, but it's just been a good resource. And then, of course, the people you work with that have that life experience or that career experience, even as they moved on from our company. I'd like to stay in contact with them just to see what they're doing, and know that they're there as kind of a sounding board if you have issues or questions about anything.
That's awesome. That I'm